Welcome to the KDB Review podcast. I'm Andy Davis, and this is the last of our very special Insights 2026 series of daily episodes where we talk to leaders at some of the biggest brands in the kitchen and bathroom industry. We're getting their candid evaluations and conclusions for business in 2025, and we're seeing what their thoughts, predictions, and plans are for 2026. It's all top-level stuff and a proper snapshot of where the sector is as we head into a new year. And we're finishing up with one of the most well-known names in the kitchen industry, Aga Rangemaster. It's going through a bit of a resurgence under new MD Dominic Worsley, thanks to a focus on the power of the brand and what it really means for customers. And as we head into a new year, I think that's a lesson even the smallest retailer can learn from. So what plans does Dominic have for 2026? What are his thoughts on an unpredictable and crowded appliance market? And just how important are independent kitchen studios in the whole makeup of the thing? It's all in this final Insights 2026 episode. And if you've missed any of the others, I really do recommend going back and having a listen. You can find them all at kbbreview.com/podcast or simply search KBB Review wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can find out more about Aga Rangemaster at agarangemaster.com, and that link is in the episode description. And here is Dominic Worsley. Hello, Dominic.
Hello, Andrew. Good to talk to you again.
Yes, good to talk to you too. How are you feeling today? Because you might be able to tell from my voice I'm not feeling great.
Yes, better than you by all accounts.
Yeah, so I apologise to the listeners who can hear me growling at them down the microphone, so I apologise for that. So look, let's get straight into it, because we had a long conversation back at the end of September, and we can go back and I do recommend people going back and listening to that episode for the full background of your time there so far. So let's just talk about 2025 to start it all off with. What kind of year has it been for the market, do you think? What kind of year has it been for you? And what lessons have you learned from 25 that you can take into 26?
Yeah, good question. So picking up where we left off, market obviously has remained challenging, I think, through the year, and we'll talk about 26, but I don't really see that changing much. But 2025, the market, difficult for us. We've done really well, as we talked about when you came to visit and when we talked. You know, we wanted to get people thinking about range cookers when they remodeled their kitchens, and I think we've had quite a lot of success with doing that. It also felt that we should put some energy and money actually into the market by exciting people about the opportunity to kind of cook on a range cooker. So we did our TV ad. That's worked really, really well. So we're seeing here, we've had great results through September and October, taking a significant share of the market, over 50% in value actually in September, and I think probably be the same again in October. So the range category within the kitchen overall segment is now actually growing fairly strongly, with average values up. And I think I spoke to you about some of the production challenges we'd had at the beginning of the year, and we got through all those and were able to supply the market in full September, October, and that's been great for us. What lessons have we learned? I think our supply chain is still a nightmare. It's constantly challenging, suppliers under pressure with prices, sourcing materials. I think for me, next year, on a very prosaic basis, we need to get a lot better at getting some resilience into our supply chain. But we are supplying now people in full, so that's great. Other lessons, I think we'll go on doing what we've been doing this year. We've put energy, we'll put money into the market, we'll work closely with our customers. They're loving what we're doing, so probably more of the same, but with more intensity next year.
I think you're in quite an unusual position, really, and it is a very depressed market, but you're in an unusual position that you're growing from a historically low base, if you know what I mean, and you've got a big owner there who's willing to put some money in behind it. So you're not trying to maintain high levels and maintain those volumes. You've got an opportunity to prove that you can grow it in this depressed market, but your targets are relatively modest as a result.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, we're actually a niche within the kitchen sector. I reckon the market will be about 85,000 units this year, so it's tiny. I mean, compared to built-in ovens. But, our long-term strategy has always been, let's put money into the brand, let's get people really wanting the brands, grow our credibility as a kitchen branded product, and then we'll see where we go in years 3, 4, 5 from here. But next year, yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, it's great that we don't need to get many people looking at range cookers instead of built-in to feel successful and for that to translate into good growth for our partners. So I think that's what we've managed. The reaction to the advert's been really, really strong. We're just doing brand awareness surveys now, but we know it's improved significantly, which is one of the things we set out to do. When we come on to look at 2026, which maybe we lead into now, I think it is one of, we're in that lucky position that I think kitchen design is heading back to a more traditional place. And we're seeing that place very much led by top-end kitchen designers like Devol, plain English. And that's actually a trend that's a global trend, but it's obviously starting here, and that tends to benefit range cooking. It doesn't mean that all those kitchens put range cooking in, but it does with sort of kitchens becoming havens. I still think they're very much the haven, the safe space in a globally and locally challenging world, and with lots of uncertainty, kind of lots of risk, lots of jeopardy and threat and anxiety going on. So when you've got all those things, you want to go back into the kitchen, which is the heart of the home.
Yeah, it's classic nesting, isn't it?
It is. It really is. So I think we're lucky in a certain sense because that trend is there, and range cooker sits very well within that approach to the kitchen as this safe place, this nest where you can just be with your family. And then colour. I think people are moving away from the starkness and the minimalist design. We talked about that before, and colours are coming back. And, that is absolutely a strength for us. So, we can do hundreds of colours and we can personalise colour, which we haven't even really got into yet because we've been busy working out how to make the number of cookers we wanted to. So I think all of those trends are playing along in the background. But on the other side of all that, we know that the housing market is sort of slowly improving, but is probably going to take a knockback following the budget. And certainly our target market is going to be hit by the budget quite hard. So I think we need kitchen renovations to keep growing. I think that growth might well slow down a bit in 2026 again. So it's difficult.
Well, the big question for 2026 is, of course, is the Rangemaster family coming back? Is there an episode 2? Are they the new OXO family? That's what we want to know.
So that's a very good question. We'll certainly run the current advert again because we always felt it would build the brand strongly, and it's doing a great job of increasing awareness. But of course, not everyone's in market. So as people come into market, we want to make sure that they see the ad. So we'll definitely run the current execution again. We have talked about potentially episode 2. Whether it be next year or 2027, I don't know yet. I mean, our attention is very much turned to Aga next year. We've got a lot of work to do with Aga. We've had, and again, I think a trend that is getting more prominent in kitchen design and kitchens and materials is sustainability, and Aga absolutely plays that. It's got a hugely long life. I mean, the country's full of 70-year-old Agas. But when I say the country is full of 70-year-old Argos, that's obviously a massive exaggeration, but there are quite a lot of,
There's a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot around, and relatively a lot. So we really want to get Aga back on people's radars next year and make it, get people to understand why it's a relevant product, why it's a great product for sustainability because it lasts forever, and a great product to cook in. So we're going to do a lot on Aga next year, but we'll keep the Rangemaster campaign ticking along as well. So yeah, we're going to be very busy, but all of that, I think, in a potentially quite challenging market. But again, I think in challenging markets, you want to be more active. You want to be talking to the consumer more frequently. You want to be doing everything you can to persuade them to invest in their kitchens, in the brands that we have within those kitchen designs. And so we'll continue to do that.
So that's pushing the consumer to the retailer, if you like. But you acknowledged the last time we spoke that you had some work to do with the retailers as well. So what's that going to look like in 2026, do you think?
So I think we want to really deepen those relationships with retailers. So we're looking at potentially a selective distribution model to help balance our retail, if you like, across independents and national accounts, to talk about how we can support retailers better in selling up to Rangemaster and Aga products. Because I think if we do it, it's as much, it is about the relationship. So it's what are we giving to retailers as much as what we're asking for retailers. And that's something we want to do in partnership. I want to make sure it's something that facilitates business growth, sales growth, doesn't hinder it. The last thing, and I think you know me well enough, the last thing I'd ever want is for our sales team to become policemen. So we're playing around with those sort of ideas, but I definitely want to get, I think we've got things we can launch with the independents next year that are going to be fun on the top end cookers. And I said about personalization, bringing that to life, building your own range cooker, all these sorts of things that I think we can only really be delivered by, through an independent store. So definitely want to get that going, in the team at the moment are working on what that would look like. So we would aim on talking to our key partners in the first quarter of next year about that. But yeah, absolutely, that's going to be really important to our growth.
So there's a lot of New Year's resolutions in there of stuff that you're going to do. But if you were an independent retailer, what do you think your New Year's resolutions would be? What do you think their priority should be going into the new year?
I think it's, recognizing the challenges in the market. It's working with the brands who are really going to help them deliver value to their consumers as they're coming in. So whether that's training, demonstration, understanding the key elements of the product that are going to be important to consumers. So, as you go up the price hierarchy of products, I think sustainability does get more important. So what is it about your branded partners? What's their sustainability offer? For instance, we've halved our carbon footprint in the last 4 years. So we've reached the gold standard for future net zero. And so that's on top of the sustainability of the product. We're looking at the how sustainable we are as a company. And we want to make sure that people get that message and are able to relay that to people who are interested. For instance, I think, this whole thing around learning what technologies are useful. I think, being the interpreter between brands that have lots of high tech, but what are the bits that are going to be really relevant to consumers? I'm not going to sit and pretend we're a really high tech company, but we've got some interesting innovations. So, working closer and closer with Fresco, who do this app that kind of talks to different products in your kitchen to get all, when you do your meal, for everything to finish at the same time. That's kind of one thing that does come out of research. So staying ahead of the game on what's the useful tech to your customer. And obviously the local, from an independent point of view, I always feel it's that local service. That's what nobody else, people who sell direct or whatever. It's very difficult to replace. Well, it's impossible, in fact, to replace that local service that a good independent will give. And I think finding ways to deepen that relationship with the customers around them, and if we can support in that, we absolutely would. So, it's those sort of things, I think.
That's all fantastic stuff, and I completely agree with all of it. But I've got one really important question to ask you at the end here to conclude it all, Dominic. And I want you to be as candid with this one as you have been elsewhere, okay? We're approaching Christmas, as you know. When you were a kid, what was the best Christmas present you ever got?
Oh, my God. That's a really hard question. The best Christmas present I ever got. Oh. When I was 7, I used to walk past this shop that had, at that stage, those quite new digital watches in it. And I got one that played Yellow Rose of Texas. And I still look back on that with joy. So I think I broke it about 3 weeks after I got it by standing on it. But yeah, I love that watch.
That exposes your age, firstly.
Yeah.
But that's a classic. It's hard for anyone to realise now just how futuristic and Star Trek digital watches were when they first came out, and how much we coveted them, particularly ones that were also a calculator.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't get one of those. Not too much.
No. Oh no, the rich kids got them.
Yeah.
The rich kids got them. I love the fact that question taxed you more than any of the others.
Well, you've always got one up your sleeve.
So thank you very much for all your time. Thank you very much for your insights, and we'll speak again soon.
Yes, and I hope you get better quickly.
Thank you, me too.
Cheerio, Andrew.